Well, we've got Tina Fey here today. We've got Robert Carlock talking about Kimmy Schmidt and great news. But Tom has a incredibly good, funny theory. I want him to lead off.
Okay, great.
Okay, here goes. Titus is really Ricky Ricardo. Okay, now here's how it plays out. Of course, Kimmy and Titus are Lucy and Ethel. I mean, it's obvious, right? So, but the switch is that, remember what the Lucy Ricardo conceit was? She would do anything to get into show business. And now you've got Titus, who will do literally anything, including kill Dionne Warwick. Is there something to my theory?
Titus is Lucy?
Lucy Ricardo, right.
Lucy Ricardo?
Yeah.
I think of all the people that have been labeled the next Lucille Ball,
yeah,
Titus is the only one I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
Right? Every redheaded actress that comes along, they go, she's the next Lucille Ball. It's Titus.
Great. I knew it. I knew I nailed it. Didn't I say that, Chris?
You did. Well, congratulations on the 4th season pickup. That was announced yesterday.
Thank you, yeah.
One question, we love process questions whenever we have people on. What goes into, as you're meeting with Netflix, meeting with Universal, do they want like a full pitch on what, hey, if we renew this, what would you do for season 4? How does that go, Robert, on when you're talking about, coming back or not?
That's a good question. I mean, we don't really talk to them creatively about, that far in the future in terms of a pickup. We are very conscientious about trying to every season leave our characters in interesting places so that people will want it to continue. I think that's kind of our promise for the future. In terms of talking about the pickup, we weren't really pitching to them. I mean, we've spoken before about the broadest strokes of how we see the series playing out, but hopefully the pickup is about them just liking what we're already doing.
And this season, this 3rd season of Kimmy Schmidt, it felt to me like you were able to let all 4 characters breathe even more, Tina. You really had some great storylines for, you always do for Kimmy and Titus, but even Carol Kane and Jane Krakowski had some big moments, big episodes.
Oh, well, thank you for noticing. We have the luxury of, especially this season, of more time. The episodes could be longer, which always makes it easier to serve the rest of the ensemble. And it is an embarrassment of riches, that ensemble, when you have Jane Krakowski and, as I like to always remind all of us, Oscar nominee Carol Kane,
right.
19-year-old Oscar nominee for Hester Street. It would be obscene not to try to use their skills. And so, yeah, we definitely we're trying to give Lillian some more stuff to do this year, and to give Jacqueline some more, adventures out on her own. So yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed those.
Yeah, and we'd spent a couple of years growing those characters. I mean, by its nature, the show is Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and it took a couple of years just for her to settle into the world a little bit more, and just knowing we had those actors, it was fun to slowly expand those characters, and then found ourselves here in season 3 saying, oh, they need to have a story. They need to have some big growth and some big steps forward. So it was fun.
Well, another nice thing was I think on this show, you're able to breathe a little bit more with like what I would call the breadcrumbs. All through the season, he would mention Dionne Warwick, or I didn't kill Dionne Warwick, just as an example. And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? And then, of course, you have the big payoff with that episode. So, and Maya Rudolph couldn't have been better cast. Did you hear from Dionne Warwick, by the way?
I did tweet something very complimentary to Maya, which was nice and a big relief to me, because I'm a huge fan of Dionne Warwick, and I certainly hope that she didn't think that we really wanted to eat her. We were pitching that story early on, the idea of, we knew something had gone wrong on his cruise, because I think Sam Means was the writer who pitched the idea that Titus's season should just start with him washing ashore in a tuxedo, and we would find out slowly what happened. And then we came, in the room, came up closer and closer to that Dionne Warwick thing, and I said, well, let me call Maya early, because if Maya is not available to do this, we cannot do this story, because there's no other actress alive who could do this. And thankfully she was around and she wanted to do it. And it was a delight to watch her and Titus enjoy each other, because they had met briefly once, but they had never worked together. And they really gave each other the giggles, I have to say, when shooting.
When you guys start,
Tom?
yeah, when you guys together, when you collaborate, where do you start? In other words, is there a formula? What I'm leaning toward is in Brighton Beach Memoirs, Neil Simon gives away his formula for comedy writing. There's a scene where the two brothers are in bed at night, and one of them has just sold a radio series to CBS. And the jealous younger brother says, "How do you do it? How do you write a series?" And the older brother goes, "Oh, it's so easy. All you gotta do is think of something that somebody wants really, really, really bad, and then you screw them out of it every way you can think of." Is that a good formula?
That is probably a good formula for episodic, right? For a long run in episodic TV, wouldn't you say, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, we got to use that. I think Kimmy's a little different in that it is, well, it is always about anything that's going on for any period of time. It's about how do you keep them from getting what they want. Kimmy wants to just be a person living in the world and be a fully realized human. You know, I think if there's any formula, you know, we tend to start at endings a little bit. You know, and in the where do we want this person to end up in this episode, in this season, in this series, and figure out how you get there. Not that we necessarily have those answers for the series, at least, but that's where we always start our conversations at the beginning of the year, you know, talking a bit about that season and knowing where we want them to get to. And then, yeah, I guess in a Brighton Beach Memoirs kind of way, it's like, how do you frustrate that and at the same time let these characters move forward and grow?
One other question along those lines, and I ask this because there's a couple of shows right now where I can't find characters that I can root for, that I can identify with. What's that secret as you've created the various shows and coming up with, you know, main characters, the main ensemble, being so identifiable and likable?
Well, I think, you know, a lot of that credit goes to the actors. They are all really warm and likable in their performances. I think I talked about this with David Letterman once, and he thought it was really weird. He said, they talk about how, well, when you're writing the show, you have to you really love all the characters. You as the writers, you have to love them and really care about what happens to all of them. And he's like, that's weird. But you do. You have to kind of care about what they care about as characters and what they want. And we also ask of our staff to kind of use their real life personal experiences in the breaking of stories. So hopefully that a character who's maybe as extreme as Titus, or whose situation is as extreme as Jacqueline's, is still relatable in what she's going through.
Yeah. And on great news as well, we want to talk about that too. You've found another nice mix there. It's almost like the millennials versus the right in the first episode. It's, you know, John Michael Higgins teaming up with Andrea Martin. You know, that's the only person his character's ever liked. As an intern. Talk about the chemistry that you put together for that particular show.
Well, that's another show where the ensemble is just so strong. And when Tracy Wigfield came to me and Robert with the idea that she at its core wanted to write a show about her own insane relationship with her mother, one of the things that I liked about it so much, that we both liked about it, was that the relationship between Tracy and her mother is very, very loving and affectionate. It's not a combative relationship at all, even though it probably should be, because it's absolutely diseased in its lack of boundaries. But then what you got in that ensemble was, which I think is important, when you have characters that all have a different worldview. And so, of course, you know, John, Michael Higgins' character and Andrew's character, they're going to agree about a lot of things that Nicole Richie's character is going to see differently, and that you can kind of keep shaking the boggle game and getting different words. And that's where you go. You could do that for years. You could just keep doing that.
Tom?
I have a Emmy question for both of you guys. It's a 30 Rock thing. I just out of curiosity, a couple of years ago, I went and did a Google search for 30 Rock, syndication, and million. And the reason I did that, and I counted up all the money, every time 30 Rock got a syndication deal from Kazakhstan or Moldova or whatever it is, over all the years, I wanted my quest was to find out how much money 30 Rock made in syndication for this reason. And that is, Tina, every time that you would win Best Series, you were graciously saying to the Emmys, well, the Emmys help keep us on the air. But yet 30 Rock never broke out to be this, big ratings hit. However, I think it is, as an Emmy historian myself, I think it is the quintessential perfect example of how an award not only helped the show at the time stay on the air, but overall, if you count up all these syndication deals that I saw, it's in the so many hundreds of millions of dollars that they paid out. That not necessarily that you got, but that was paid out. I think I stopped at $600 or $700 million.
Yeah, Universal got most of that. But yeah, if you've ever looked at any of those accounting sheets, Tina, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and I continue. I think Robert would agree that we do really feel like the Emmys kept us alive. That it would have been harder for them to cancel us, and now I think the show has a whole new life in syndication and also on Netflix. I talked to a lot of kids under 20 who say, I'm watching the whole thing on Netflix. They were too young to watch. And so, yeah, you guys helped us survive. Would I be willing to say that in some kind of court of law where finances were involved, Tom? No.
I wouldn't either. They might make you give up the money, right?
Maybe a fruit basket, like an edible arrangement.
But then look what the Emmys did for Kimmy.
No checks are on the way.
And look what the Emmys did for Kimmy in its first season. There were fans, outright fans of myself, who were putting it on our predictions, kind of willing it to happen. But when it got 7 nominations, just like 6 weeks after it debuted on, or 8 weeks, whatever it is, at Netflix, it was a wow moment for everybody going, come on, a streaming service did this? What was your reaction that first year?
The show had such an unusual birth. It was a bit breach in that we were having a hard time, and NBC was having a hard time finding a spot that made sense, a spot where there's a lead-in that's going to help this thing, and it's a night where the show made sense, and it was all very collegial, these conversations, and I think it was all because we felt like it was special and needed to be protected. But to go through that and then find, maybe a different service, a different network is a better place for it, and to actually find a land at Netflix, improbable.
Mm-hmm.
That we were hardly thinking about award stuff. I think we felt like it was working. We've all done enough stuff that doesn't quite work to know that that's really special. But that was a really wonderful validation of, I think, the group decision that was made that this show would have a better life on a streaming service.
Yeah. The core premise of the show was, especially at that time, felt the premise of this woman who had been kidnapped and had this terrible thing happen to her felt like a slightly dicey premise for broadcast and not at all a problem for streaming. Because when you have Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, it's the lightest thing they have. But I get why when you're at home and it's broadcast and it just comes on because you were watching the thing before it, I could see where you would maybe be a little nervous about that premise. So it was really validating when it was so well received.
Tina, you won your 9th Emmy Award last September.
Well,
you and Amy Poehler together.
Yes, that was good times.
First of all, Amy, that's her first ever Emmy win. How did you communicate after that happened?
That's obscene, but I'm glad that at least that's now she can move on to her 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 10th. I live in New York here, so I sort of assumed that she was going to go to the thing because she lives there, and then I heard that we won and that she didn't go. So we didn't really talk about. We got to present the following week at the regular Emmys or whatever they're called, and so that was the first time we got to talk about it. But it was nice. It was great, and of the many things that she and I share, it's fun that we get to share an Emmy. I don't know, not many people get to share one like that.
Who has it now?
Well, since you couldn't give us an acceptance speech, you couldn't be there in person to accept it. What would you have said if you had been there?
I would say, "Shut off this crap! I'm talking." And then I don't know. I would have said, "I thought Amy was going to be here." it's a short drive for her. No, I would have thanked my comedy wife, Amy Poehler, who we've known each other since 1992, 93. Wow. So I would have thanked her, and then I would have probably taken my dress and dropped it, and then flown out.
We would have loved to see that. We're still talking at Gold Derby, Tina, about your 2009 Golden Globe speech where you notoriously thanked our message board posters, which was a classic. Thank you for that.
We used to check. I have to say, in the early days of 30 Rock, I used to just check Gold Derby a lot and be like, "How are we doing, guys? What's gonna happen?" Because I felt like our life depended on it. Yeah. So yes, you guys.
I was happy to have Tina be that filter for.
Yeah.
For the feedback, but
come back in the room and go, guys, Gold Derby didn't like episode 7 or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about the where you are now on having won the 9th, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has won 9. So who's going to be? And she played you on that one of those live 30 Rock episodes.
She did, yeah.
Who's going to get to 10 first? That's what I want to know.
Well, Julia's in a show right now, so it would be harder for me to get to 10 right now. But if maybe we could play Siamese twins, and I could get another half that way.
I like it.
There's got to be a place for you on Veep somewhere along the way too. Maybe she's got a sister or.
Wouldn't you think? No, I know.
By the way, you won the we do Gold Derby TV Awards every summer. You won Guest Actress last year, and I kept telling people after I saw those episodes where you were the therapist to Kimmy. I said, I've enjoyed your whole career, but that was your greatest performance I think I've ever seen.
Thank you very kindly, Chris. That was a lot of fun to do those, and I was very grateful that when I won that Gold Derby Award, and I certainly was aware, and I really appreciated it. I am going to get to come back. I'm going to do a few episodes of Great News in the fall, so we'll see. Maybe I'll chase Julia down that way. I'll just chase her.
Perfect.
Let the Emmys know you're doing that now. Maybe you can get on the ballot now for these.
It's premature to get on there.
Yeah.
Well, you're on there for writing, right? The ballots that just came out, and of course producing both Kimmy Schmidt and Great News.
That's true.
Depending on the order of the categories at the Emmys, if writing comes before, say, lead actress, you could get to 10 before her.
There's a lot of TV out there.
But we want you to get to the EGOT, Tina and Robert, because you're going to Broadway next year with Mean Girls, right?
Oh, well, yes.
So I mean, that's a given. You're getting there step by step.
And I got my album dropping, so.
Robert has his very harsh thrash metal album coming out. Yeah. You know who's going to be the next person to EGOT, I realized, is John Legend, because he won a Tony the other night, and he has an Oscar. And we should get him to be on one of the shows so that he can EGOT.
He's got to have a Grammy.
He's got like a million Grammys.
He's got Grammys, yeah.
Yes,
we've had 4 people get to that 3rd level this year. He was one of them. That each just need one thing left. Bette Midler got the Tony, so she just needs an Oscar. We were talking this morning. They ought to do Hello Dolly the movie again. That would potentially do that. But it's a nice. We were even having the chat the other day. You were the one that kind of coined the EGOT. Well, I guess you made it famous all over again after.
I think you coined it, didn't you? Because as award nights, we used to just call it the Grand Slam, and then when you came with the EGOT, it was brilliant.
Robert, wasn't that based on a real thing?
To my memory, this is from my sort of childhood memory of something I just thought was hilarious, which is I think cited in 30 Rock, that Philip Michael Thomas, who was in
Miami Vice,
had a necklace made that said EGOT on it.
That's right.
Perfect. For Tracy's aspirations. But yeah, it has, now it's the term, but I think Mr. Thomas deserves the original credit for that.
We want to figure out, there's 12 people that have won it, and there's 6 still living. We want to figure out a way. I don't think some of them have ever even met each other. Maybe get those 6 together in a room somewhere and have a fun party.
It's Whoopi, right?
Legend, his Emmy, that would be so great.
Yeah, Whoopi, Mel Brooks, Rita Moreno, Scott Rudin, Jonathan Tunick. Who else, Chris?
Is EGOT.
Yeah.
Robert Lopez. That's the 6 that are
Robert
currently living.
He's got to be the
Robert
youngest.
Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he is definitely the youngest. Lin-Manuel Miranda had a shot at it this year at the Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Keep trying, Lynn. Stay strong.
Land on his
He's doing okay though.
Oh, okay, we'll sign off here. Thank you so much for this great TV, for 9 Emmys. We want you to just keep rolling along, both of you, because you deserve all of them plus 10 more.
No, you guys the best.
The only thing I would want to say too is that of all the newcomers in the field, I hope you'll remember Andrea Martin as the genius that she is as we go into this voting period, because she's
Special.
She's a trigger.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks everybody.
Yes.